Chen Shou was a historian of literary genius and granite-like integrity. He not only was a man of great moral courage, but also a historian with excellent writing. With his knowledge about writing history, he was able to provide wonderful historical accounts, and thanks to his efforts, the deeds of ancient figures could be recorded. He's best known for his work The Records of the Three Kingdoms, which records the history of the late Han dynasty. His writing style was mostly in the form of biographies, and today his records are part of the 24 Histories canon of Chinese history. Chen Shou has two biographies written about his own life. One was written during the coming Jin dynasty, while the second is in the Book of Jin, written in the 7th century during the Tang dynasty. Chen Shou was born in Guozhi Commandery in 223 and was known for being studious, intelligent, insightful and knowledgeable since he was young. His father was a military advisor to Ma Su during the Battle of Jieting in 228 and had been implicated and sentenced to kun, a punishment where one had to shave his head. Chen Shou started his career at Guozhi under Qiao Zhou, the local aid of learning encouragement, which was a position Zhuge Liang had established to cultivate and recruit more talents. Under Qiao Zhou's teachings, Chen Shou read the classic of history, the three commentaries on the Spring and Autumn Annals, and was well versed in the records of the Grand Historian, and the Book of Han. Qiao Zhou often told Chen, "You'll become famous for your talents, but it still might not be so bad if you encounter a setback. You should be more mindful about what you do." Even though Zhuge Liang's son, Zhuge Jian, once belittled Chen Shou, he commented that nobody in Shu was upset, despite the strict laws. When he entered his filial mourning period after his father's death, he also fell sick. Some guests visited his home only to see him being served medicine by his maid. There was a custom which said during mourning he shouldn't be in touch with females, so his guests quickly left. He was expected to live a life without luxury or comfort during that period, so his fellow townsfolk found it distasteful and criticised him for it. Being talented in a similar fashion of Li Xiang made him Chen Shou's close friend, but their relations deteriorated and they started making false accusations against each other. The other officials scorned them for their consistent petty arguing. He went on to serve as a clerk in Chengdu, becoming the registrar of the General of the Guards before becoming an official librarian. He worked in the historical offices of the Shu government, but in the biography of Liu Shan, he wrote that the Shu state didn't have a historical bureau or department. Although this would justify the pitiful condition of the biographies of the Shu officials, it seems suspect. Ancient texts advised to have one scribe write every word and another scribe write every action, and even though this was just an exaggeration, even minor local warlords held a historical bureau. A historian can still function outside the government or combine their role within it, so for Shu Han to suddenly lack one is quite unbelievable. Chen Shou even contradicts his own statement in Liu Shan's biography just 3 paragraphs later, when he wrote the historical bureau reported the sighting of a brilliant star. He went on to become Gentleman of Scattered Cavalry, then Gentleman of the Yellow Gates, but was eventually demoted and sent out of the capital. The eunuch, Wang Hao, abused his power by promoting officials who were his supporters and demoting those who stood up to him. Chen Shou refused to flatter him, so his career entered a period of stagnation until the Jin dynasty was founded in 266. Zhang Hua of Jin recommended Chen Shou to serve as a Xiaolian, because even though his reputation was tarnished, he didn't deserve to be demoted and dismissed altogether. He became the prefect of Yangping County under the Jin government, and collected and compiled the writings of Zhuge Liang and submitted them to the court. The compiled text was called Collection of the Shu Chancellor Zhuge Liang, and was later reorganized and composed into 24 volumes. It was eventually rewritten and mixed with another historian's work on Zhuge Liang, which was vastly different, where it became the Memoirs of Zhuge Liang. Chen Shou became promoted to a scribe and appointed as the local official of Guozhi Commandery who ranks potential candidates for public service. Later on, when Zhang Hua recommended Chen Shou to serve as a gentleman palace writer, he was appointed as the administrator of Changguan Commandery instead, under the recommendation of Chen Shou. While Zhang Hua was an accomplished poet who enjoyed natural wonders and supernatural phenomena, it's said that the grandnephew of Zhong Yao's, Chen Shou, detested him, so also disliked Chen Shou for being associated with him. However, it's also written that both Chen Shou and Zhang Hua were very pleased with Chen Shu's work on the Sanguozhi, up until Chen Shou became displeased with certain sections within the Wei Shu part. He did not want Chen Shou to work in the same office as him, so had him reassigned to be the administrator of Guang instead. Chen Shou declined the appointment on the grounds that he had to look after his elderly mother. When Du Yu was about to take his appointment as the commander over the Jin military in Jing province, he recommended Chen Shou to Sima Zhao's son, Emperor Wu. Sima Yan agreed that he was capable of serving as either Gentleman of the Yellow Gate or Scattered Cavalry, so Chen Shou became akin to an auditor under the Jin dynasty. Sometime after the year 280, Chen Shou had completed his magnum opus, the 65-volume Sanguozhi, which was written on 65 scrolls and divided into 3 sections, the books of Wei, Wu, and Shu. He received acclaim from his counterparts, and was praised as an excellent historian. When Shi Haiyuan's grandson, the historian Shi Haozhan, read Chen Shou's work, he destroyed his own project he had towards his books of Wei. He was deeply impressed that Chen Shou was becoming so renowned, so he told him, "We should entrust the responsibility of writing the Book of Jin to you." When he took a leave of absence to fulfill his mother's dying wish of being buried in Luoyang, he was not only castigated, but also demoted for his controversial act. The traditions of the time deemed that his mother should have been buried in his hometown of Anhan County, but another account says it was not his biological mother who died. She didn't want to be buried with his father in Anhan, so Chen went along with her wishes, much to his own detriment. Despite his achievements, Chen Shou still faced accusations from other controversies. One rumour claims he attempted to extort 1,000 hu of grain from the sons of Ding Yi, who were prominent celebrities in Wei. He promised that he would write biographies for them and Ding Yi if they gave him the grain, but they refused. A historian is justified if he decides not to write biographies, as just being notable did not mean that a person should have one written for him. Many years after his demotion, Chen Shou was appointed as an aide to the Crown Prince Sima Yu, but he didn't assume his role. He lived out his final years in Luoyang, holding a title which didn't reflect his talents nor achievements, up until the time of his death. Many people felt it was an injustice to him, with one appraising him, "Learn from the past, then promote and consolidate those reflections." It's claimed he died of illness at the age of 65 in 297 during the reign of Emperor Hui, but an alternate account says he lived until around the year 300. This one states he was reassigned to be a regular mounted attendant after the crown prince was deposed in 299, where Emperor Hui told Zhang Hua, "Chen Shou possesses a genuine talent, so should not remain in his current position for long." Zhang Hua was then poised to nominate Chen Shou to take up one of the posts of the 9 ministers, but Chen lost his life during the War of the 8 Princes before this could happen. An imperial envoy fetched his posthumous papers, in which Chen discussed the ritual of offering sacrifices to heaven, and the emperor marvelled at the man's writing. Chen was credited with over 200 writings altogether, about 30 of which he co-wrote with his relatives, and 10 were written solely by them, but they were still all attributed to him. The official Fan Jun told His Majesty that Chen had written a book named The Records of the 3 Kingdoms. It's beneficial to promoting our culture, and even though its writing style doesn't live up to the greats, its message is simpler and so clearer. We hope it can be collected and reproduced. Emperor Hui approved, so issued scribes to Chen Shou's house to copy the Sanguozhi. It wasn't until the 5th century until Pei Songxi annotated the text further by adding new materials in his own commentary, thus increasing its size to nearly double that of the original.